Hello and welcome to Junaid's Maths. In this video, I'll be showing you how to estimate mean from a frequency table or grouped data. In order to work out the mean, it's easier if we extend this table by 2 more columns, just for the working out purpose. And then the first step is going to be to work out the midpoint. But before we go and work out the midpoint, I want to show you or read out to you how this part here will be read out. So 14 inequality sign t inequality sign 16. How do we actually read that? Most of you will know, and some of you would like to know, that these two here are inequality signs. And there's a way to read that. Now, in this table, it's showing that frequency 6 and the temperatures were recorded in November every day. So that means on 6 days, the temperature was greater than 14. So that doesn't include 14. Was greater than 14 or less than or equal to 16. That means 14.1 or 14.5, 14.8 or 15. Now we will move towards our working out or how to solve this particular problem here. So the question says Brian recorded the maximum temperature every day in November. The table shows his results. Calculate an estimate for the mean maximum temperature. The first step, and most of the time if you see grouped data, that data is written down with inequalities, you can straight away go ahead and find the midpoint. So our first step is going to be to find the midpoint. So the midpoint here is 15, and sometimes the gap is going to be the bigger in your questions. And how to tackle that sort of question, the technique is that you can add 16 and 14. And most of the time these sort of questions do appear in a calculator paper. So you can add 14 and 16 and then divide it by 2. So that 16 plus 14 is 30, and then you divide it by 2 to get 15. Same you're gonna do for all the other temperatures as well. So here we have 17 midpoint, and the midpoint here is 19, 21, 23. So all these midpoints we've worked out. That's your first step. The next step is going to be to multiply the midpoint with the frequency. So just this by that. And just to write it down here, we'll just copy this thing. 15 times 6, 17 times 11, 19 times 7, and then 21 times 4, 23 times 2. Okay, so our next step, as you have seen, is multiply the midpoint with the frequency, just both of them. And because most of the time, as I said, it appears in calculated paper, so it's pretty easy to work this part out. As long as you've worked out the frequency and you know, then you need to multiply that by the midpoint with the frequency. Now let's work this out, and this is going to be 15 times 6, 90, 17 times 11, 187. The next one is 19 times 7, that is going to give us 133. And the next one is 21 times 4, that is going to give us 84. And then 23 times 2, which is going to give us 46. Okay, so once you have done midpoint times the frequency, just work it out. And that is kind of the total. In other words, do the total as well as you will do midpoint times the frequency. You will be straight away getting these answers. But working out is important, as if you do go wrong in exams, you will at least get the marks for doing the right method. Okay, now the next step. What is going to be our next step? So the next step is to add all of these m times f up, so the total of that, so total of mf, what we have just worked out, or midpoint time frequency, just add all of these up, and that is going to give us 540. Okay, now what is our next step? The next step is that we're going to add up all the frequency, so total of frequency. In statistical language they use sigma and f of x and stuff, but I won't be using it here because that can make things a little bit complicated for students. So we did midpoint times the frequency, got the total. Now the next step we're doing is adding up the frequency and total of frequency. Okay, now the total of frequency, because it's a November month and every day the temperature was recorded, we can see that the total of frequency is 30 here. Okay, now once we do that, our final step is to go ahead and work out the answer or estimate the mean. Now divide the total of whatever you've got from here, which is 540, by the frequency total, which is 30. Now 0 cancelled with 0. How many 3 goes into 5? That's ones with the 2 remainder, making it 24. How many 3 goes into 24? That's 8 times. So 18. Our answer is 18. Now the final step we did here is that we have just divided these two totals. So whatever the total you've got in step 3 and 4, you just divide that by the next one. So you'll say total of m times f divided by your other total of the frequency. Okay, thanks for watching my video.